presenting starts long before you've uttered a word, right? Long before I've said anything, long before there are any slides up here, we're already presenting, right? And that's the truth of life. You are always going to be presenting. Now, many of us don't like presenting, right? And believe me, I didn't used to either, right? But what you'll realize is whether it's a job interview, whether it's a short on Instagram, whether it's coursework that you're doing, you're always presenting something, right? So my suggestion is, if we're going to be doing it constantly, we might as well become pretty good at it, right? Cool. I've been given 1 hour to teach you guys how to present, and I can't do that. I can't do it in an hour because presenting takes time and it takes practice, right? The other thing is, you could all go on to ChatGPT and say, what are the skills required to present? And you'll get a list of skills, right? So what I'm not going to do today is I'm not going to tell you the skills that you need to present. We're going to approach this slightly differently. And what I'm going to share with you today is what I've learned in 30 years of teaching people how to present, all right? And that is the essence of what it comes down to. Because yes, I could tell you, when you're going to present, make sure you practice, make sure you prepare, do it in front of a mirror, take a video of it, watch it back. How many of you are really going to do that? Right? You're not, right? Let's be realistic. And I got taught this back in the day when I was at university. People would say to me, you've got to practice, get your friends to watch you, and then you're going to do it really well. And how many times did I do it? Never, right? But there are other things which you can do, you can learn when it comes to presenting, which I'm going to share with you today, all right? The best part is that some of you are going to be presenting to the group. Who suddenly had a bout of anxiety when I said that? The videographer felt anxious suddenly. Some of you are going to be presenting to the group, all right? But we are in a friendly, safe space here, right? So use this opportunity to have a laugh, practice, try it out, see how it looks on camera. We'll take video for you, and just give it a go, all right? Before we start, that's me. Thank you very much for having me and for inviting me. Those are my socials. My name's Taz. I'm the CEO of a company I started 4.5 years ago called Melius Consulting. We are a HR advisory business. So a lot of what I do is help organizations create amazing workplaces, right? Because 70% of the global workforce is disengaged. And I just think that's awful. You guys are going to be going into the world of work, and I want to make sure where you land, you've got really awesome places to go and work. All right, so I started Melius 4.5 years ago, and the whole intention of the company is to create amazing workplaces, right? But also I do a lot of work with employees to help them get the most out of the world of work, right? I think this is going to be really important, especially with AI coming on board, right? So that's what I help companies doing. I also spend a lot of time talking to students, particularly in this region, about how to prepare for the world of work. So how to get ready and how to get the most out of what's coming up ahead. All right, so that's a little bit about me. That's what I do. As I mentioned, life is about presenting, right? We're always going to be presenting, whether you're networking, whether it's online, whether it's a job interview, whether it's in your classroom, whether you're meeting your friends, whether you're putting forward a new idea or a discussion point, whether you're meeting somebody for the first time, you are going to be presenting, right? We may not call it that. We may call it an introduction. We may call it a blind date. We may call it a first impression. We may call it just hanging out and vibing, whatever you want to call it. But the truth is, most of the time in life, you are going to be presenting yourself and normally an idea or a concept or a thought process or something. All right? So what we're going to do in the next 45 minutes is give you some fundamentals on how you can do this really well. And if you do these there are only 3 things I'm going to leave you with today. And if you do these 3 things, and if you do them intentionally and consciously, you will become better at presenting. Okay? Who knows the saying, the world is but a stage and all the men and women are players? Who knows that saying? It was Shakespeare. Who knows who Shakespeare is? Okay, Shakespeare said, the world is but a stage, but all the men and women are but players, right? Which means this is all one big stage, and we are just the actors and actresses of life, all right? So getting good at presenting, really good skill for you guys to have. Who's going to be presenting in their course at some point soon? Yeah, a lot of you. Right. How do you feel about presenting? Some of you said you didn't really like it, right? So I'm going to give you three tips today, which you can take away and use immediately in your course. So a lot of our anxiety about presenting is all here, right? But actually when you do it, it can be pretty straightforward. Now I know I asked you only to present yourself. That's very easy, right? And as you practice this sort of stuff, you can pick more and more tricky topics. But actually presenting is not that difficult. So for those of you who did sit here and say, oh, I don't really like doing it, we're going to give you some tools, but we're also going to give you some practice on how to make it very, very easy for yourselves. All right? Let's move into some of the theory, and I promise we'll get through this quickly before we start playing some more games, right? Good. 3 things when it comes to presenting. Now, look, I could sit here and tell you how to prepare your presentations, right? I could tell you that you've got to make sure the audio visual and the microphones and everything works properly. I could tell you that you've got to be conscious of your body language and you've got to be conscious of your voice and all of these sorts of things. You all know this, right? You all know this. But in my 30 years of doing this, I've found these 3 things are the things that make a real difference between the presenters that are amazing and the presenters that you can forget. It's these 3 things. So 3 things that really make presenting amazing. And if you get these 3 things right, you will nail it every single time, right? The first thing is energy. Confidence and energy, right? Now, energy. Energy is not about volume. It's not about being the loudest person in the room. That's not what energy is. Energy is about presence, right? How many of you know someone who's really quiet but can control an audience, can absolutely own a room? Yeah? There are a lot of people who don't have to make a lot of volume, and yet they will have your attention. If time had permitted, I would have sat here for another 10 minutes. Saying absolutely nothing. So don't mistake energy for noise, right? Energy is about presence, and presence is not necessarily about volume, all right? Just one thing to remember. Second thing, clarity, and we'll talk a little bit more about this when we get through the slides, but clarity in any presentation is really important. And today, these are the 3 things I want you to take away from here. If you remember nothing else about today, right? These 3 things, take them away. And that's the sort of clarity you need when you're presenting. The final thing is connection. And we're going to talk about authenticity in a minute. Okay, so these are the 3 most important things when it comes to presenting. Of course, add on the preparation. Add on slides which are not too complicated. Add on things which are visually appealing. Add on good voice and tone. Get a good night's sleep before you present. All of these things you know. But these are the things that really make a difference. Okay? Energy. Energy. Really, really important. This is going to completely change how you present. If you get this right, you will absolutely nail it. Right? Imagine how you would present if you had a really bad night's sleep. Like if you slept 2-3 hours, you may be fueled on caffeine or Red Bull or whatever it is, right? But if you have got very little sleep, you're going to struggle when it comes to presenting, right? So making sure that you've got the right energy start in the day, really important. Before you start presenting, take a pause. Now, I sat there for 10 minutes, right? That was my pause. Very, very easy to just calm the heart rate, get comfortable, think through what you're going to say, be comfortable with it, but take a pause. If you're standing, if you're meeting somebody for the first time and you're standing, plant your feet. Just make sure you've got a really solid foundation. It sounds really weird, right? What difference does it make? But if you're doing a lot of this, you won't have a solid foundation from which to present yourself. And a solid foundation, really, really important. So make sure your feet are on good ground. If you're sat down, you can do the same thing, especially if you're in an interview. If you're in an interview and you're sat down, put your feet on the ground. Right? It's just going to give you a nice solid base against which to present. Deep breath. Calm the nerves. Oxygen, really, really important for presenting well. Eye contact, but don't stare. That's just weird, right? But eye contact is really, really important. Why is eye contact important? Got an idea? It's a connection, right? It's trust. It's credibility. Can you look somebody in the eye if you're lying? Only if you're a sociopath. You can, but only if you're a sociopath, right? And you have zero guilt. But if you are lying, or if you are fibbing, or if you are making something up, it's very difficult to look somebody directly in the eyes and do it, right? Normally, where do you look when you're lying? Bottom left. Bottom left is where people look. Just look out for it, right? Next time somebody's lying to you, they're going to be doing that, right? And then you can say, hey, that guy told me that you're lying. It's very difficult to look at somebody in the eyes when you're not certain, when you're making stuff up and so forth. If you want to establish real credibility and trust, look someone in the eyes, but don't stare, because that's creepy, right? So it's finding that really good balance between how much to look and when to look away, all right? Smile. Smile, the power of a smile. Now, I know there are people who are too cool to smile, and that's up to you. You're one of them, right? There are people who are like, no, I'm too cool to smile. Totally up to you. Totally up to you. But think about this, right? How many of you recently were smiled at by a complete stranger? Complete stranger smiled at you. Anyone? Nobody? All right. You. How did it feel? Very nice, right? Sorry? You smiled back. How did it make you feel? It's really nice. Yeah. It's very difficult to be mad at someone who's smiling at you, right? And again, it's such a simple little thing to build credibility and trust, right? So remember these things just before you start presenting. Put a smile on your face, deep breath, eye contact, solid base, take a pause. You'll be good to go. Good? Any questions before we move on? All right. Clarity. When you're presenting, try and make sure there is one key message. One key message in your presentation. Now, you may repeat that message throughout. And I would recommend repeating a message to make sure it really gets home. But make sure there's one key message. There may be other smaller messages, right? But try not to overcomplicate what you are presenting. So today, what's the one message that we're going to leave you with today? Huh? What's the one key message that I'm leaving you with today? Anyone? Energy, clarity, connection, right? Energy, clarity, connection. We're going to call it the 3 C's: confidence, clarity, and connection. But that's the one message from today. Now, your presentation may have other messages, absolutely fine. But make sure that there is one core message to whenever you're presenting. And that if the person or people you're presenting to remember nothing else, they take away the core message. All right? In an hour's presentation, how much do you think you're going to remember? What percentage? 5. Anybody else? Anyone think more than 5? 20. Anyone think more than 20? It's like an auction. Anyone think more than 20? Anyone think less than 5? Less than 5? How much? 3%? Yeah. In an hour's presentation, you're likely to remember about 7% of what I'm going to give you today. That's it. Right? So 4 minutes worth. If that's the case, make sure the one message is really clear. So, what's the one message from today? Confidence, clarity, connection. Yeah, that's it. All right? If you are presenting yourself as an individual, you're not presenting an idea or a training or a program or something, but you're presenting yourself, this is a really good way to do it. Who are you? What do you do or what do you offer? And why does it matter? Why does it matter? Now, you could also turn it the other way round. Who's heard of Simon Sinek? Anybody heard of Simon Sinek? No? Yeah? Okay. The circle of why. Do you know the circle of why? Or start with why? You've heard of start with why. Simon Sinek he's a business guru, does a lot of talks on YouTube and what have you. And he says start with why. Start with your purpose. So when you're presenting yourself, you could use that framework, but invert it. Start with why what you do matters, what it is you do, and then who are you. Okay? Finally, connection beats perfection. This is really important. If everything is super polished, super practiced, written by AI, everything is perfect, there's no flaws, how's that going to feel to you? A little bit like there's a layer between you and me, right? Like it's just a little bit separated. But if what I do today has flaws, mistake, stumbles, I lose track of the slides, the mic breaks. Yesterday I was on a webinar, the guest speaker couldn't connect for the first 15 minutes. Right? So the person who was the guest speaker at a webinar that we were hosting, by the way, couldn't connect for the first 15 minutes. So we're just completely ad-libbing a 45-minute webinar for the first 15 minutes. Right? And the first thing we do after the webinar's finished is we ask people for feedback. And guess how many people said, oh, it was terrible because the girl couldn't connect? None. None. Nobody said, oh, that was terrible because she couldn't connect. Because we get it, right? It's real life. People make mistakes. Things don't go smoothly every time. When we are authentic, when we make mistakes, when things don't go perfectly, you know what happens? We form better connections with people. And we have something we can laugh about afterwards. Right? So at the time, it may seem daunting and a disaster. I can't tell you how many people I've trained who have come up to present and then frozen through fear, right? Through anxiety, through fear, complete paralysis. The slide didn't suddenly work. They forgot to charge the laptop, right? Complete paralysis. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Mistakes make us human. And the more human you are on stage, the better your audience will connect with you. It's as simple as that, right? So in this day and age of absolute perfection, where everything is correct, everything's written by ChatGPT, it all sounds the same, don't worry about being authentic. In fact, be more authentic. Come up, make mistakes, right? Your audience will have a laugh with you, they'll enjoy your presentation, and they'll remember you. And you'll have something to talk about afterwards. Cool? Right. So, just to recap again, the 3 C's from today, right? Confidence, clarity, connection. If you remember these 3 things whenever you are presenting, you're going to be fine. All right? You're going to be fine. So take those away with you, please. Make every conversation count. If you want to practice then what you can do is record a 30-second clip presenting yourself and then send it to me and send it to my team. And if you do this, we will contact you and give you feedback, one-to-one. All right? So if you want to avail this opportunity, it's there for you. All you got to do, take a 30-second clip of yourself, present yourself, send it to one of our socials, all right? And either myself or my team will come back to you and give you feedback and help you improve. This isn't an offer which has a sell-by date. So if you have an interview in 2 years and you think, oh, I'd really like to practice, drop us a line. We're more than happy to help you, okay? Practice daily. You're not going to take 30-second video clips of yourself every day, but when you are presenting for your course, when you are going to meet someone new, when you are standing up to your parents and you need to make a point, try the techniques, right? Take a deep breath, ground yourself. You'll be able to present whatever it is you're presenting in a much better way. Okay? And embrace imperfection. We all are. We have 100 presenters or so, no, it's a bit less than that, in the making, right? Every single one of you can be a brilliant presenter. There's no real sort of magic pill to any of this. Just a little bit of practice, a little bit of get up and do it. Don't worry about getting it wrong initially, and you'll be absolutely fine.
This is